What's the purpose of your job?
I work in an investment management firm, and it's our job to help individuals plan their financial future and choose investments for them. In the case of charities, which is my specific area, we do something very similar. We understand what they need financially and invest their money for them to achieve that.
At the moment, I am training to be an investment manager, so the purpose of my job is to help the investment managers make decisions about what to invest in. They then decide how much of the company to buy and also the timing associated with that.
The purpose of my job is to ensure that clients' money and assets are protected.
The main purpose of my job is really to keep the company within the rules. In investment management, there are a lot of rules that we have to be aware of. And so any agreements that we have with anybody else, we've got to make sure that those don't break the rules effectively.
As an apprentice, the purpose of my job is to learn whilst becoming qualified, at the same time as working a full-time job. It's definitely not as daunting or as full-on as it sounds, and I actually find that my studies make sense.
So, what do you actually do?
My actual job involves looking after client assets, primarily investing into the stock market. This is continually monitored and the investments are reviewed and any necessary changes made within the portfolios. It's also important for us to keep up to date with the financial markets and to keep in regular contact with our clients to ensure that the investments remain suitable.
If an individual comes to me and sits down and they have a goal or an aspiration for the future but they don't know how to get there, it's my job to get them there. So I sit down with them and look at their full financial wealth, their full financial circumstances, and we try to work out what their goals and objectives are for the future. And that could be that they'd like to retire when they're age 60, or it could be that they'd like their family to have enough money if they were no longer here one day. And it's my job to make sure that that all happens.
In terms of what I actually do, I spend time researching companies. That actually means trying to understand what a company does, what its market is, how financially sound it is, and whether it will make a good investment. And to be honest, I'm 2 and a bit years into the job and I'm still learning all of this. For example, if I asked you to describe what Amazon was, how it makes money, who its customers are, and do you think it could be successful, I think you could do a pretty good job. Your family, your friends have probably used Amazon before. But asking that question about Amazon 20 years ago, say, could be a bit harder. Trying to understand whether a man who comes from a garage selling books will be a big company in the future is a more difficult question, and that's what we're trying to understand.
Firstly is making investment decisions for our clients and managing their portfolios, but also an important part is meeting with them and ensuring that we're up to date with what their thoughts are, what's happening in the organisation. Are they having any issues in terms of fundraising that's going to have an impact on what they might need us to do from their portfolio? Do they have large projects that they're going to be embarking on in the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, which may require them to have money extracted from the portfolios? And that all influences the way we manage those assets for them. Whole host of other things that really I could take an hour to list, but those are probably the key ones.
As an apprentice, I work a real job 4 days a week. I earn a real salary and I get real work experience as I learn kind of the ropes of what goes on inside a wealth management office. I do tasks like background checking clients and helping with client reviews and doing meeting preparation. On the 5th day of the week, I study for my degree and my CISI qualification.
Could you describe what you do on a typical day, please?
When you ask someone who works in investment what a typical day is like, it's almost certain that they're going to say there isn't one. No matter what job you have within the investment industry, every day is different and there's always something new and interesting.
My typical day at work would start with me probably reading the news, Financial Times, Bloomberg, perhaps Reuters. I would then answer any emails which might have come in from fund managers regarding, our research process or some of our research providers. I'm also really heavily involved in employee networks like our multicultural and ethnicity network Unity, as well as a national network, Scottish Financial Enterprise Young Professionals. So I might well have a meeting with one of those committees to discuss perhaps an upcoming event that we might be organising. Then in the afternoon I'll probably try to do some 4 hours of straight research. I like to try and get into the zone. So that'll be me looking into one of the areas that I'm researching, such as I mentioned before, distributed ledger technology or genomics, looking at understanding this new technology, which companies are in this field, what does the landscape look like, and that involves quite a lot of reading and some analysing, but it's really, really cool. Towards the end of the day, I might have a pod meeting with some of the fund managers. So they'll have, a bunch of stocks, let's say 30 stocks that they invest in, and we call this a fund. And they will be discussing whether or not they're adding companies, taking companies out, increasing the amount or decreasing the amount of any companies. And I would be there to perhaps give any input into any relevant themes I'm researching or companies that I'm looking at.
My days are so varied. There are sometimes large data projects that I do, research projects, reporting projects. There's not many days that are the same.
But you never know what the day may bring, because you never know what your client will say when you will meet with them. You never know what the news will be in the morning, because my job is very much dependent on various political events and economics. So you never know what tomorrow will bring.
What's the best thing about your job? What do you enjoy the most out of everything?
I'm continually learning each day, and I definitely get the most job satisfaction when I can speak to a client and I know that they're happy about the service that I've been able to deliver.
I love my clients. I honestly do. I really care for every and each of them, and I really want to do the best job that's possible I could, to do the best job for them. I think that the fact that they trust me, I think it's as of a privilege that I am able to work together with them.
The best thing about my job is getting to know so many fantastic charities. And investing, you do get a buzz from investing and dealing with markets and watching markets. Sadly, you may find yourself watching CNBC at 9 o'clock at night to see how the US market closed on the day. But that's all part of the interest and all part of the role, really.
The best thing about my job, I would say, would have to be the travel. It's not always as glamorous as everybody thinks it's going to be. You do spend a lot of time in airports, but I've certainly had some nice weeks and days in places like Italy or Switzerland, travelling around, meeting clients and meeting prospective clients.
The fact that you're not a cog, you're not just like another number in the company. You're in a business where a person's intellect, interest, curiosity, ability to learn really matters.
So thinking about my favourite thing about my job was a really easy one. So I love learning new things, and I can't believe I found a job where I get paid to just learn cool stuff about the world and how it operates. So I mean, looking at a project, a new technology or a company and seeing how it impacts the world and then forming a view on it, for me it's just really, really cool. So I love it.